So, welcome to another segment of the BYU Management Society's Learn from Professional initiative. Our goal is to provide guidance to young adults in their career journey. So, today we have an opportunity to hear from Lisa Rice, an experienced real estate agent. Lisa has been a real estate agent for over 12 years and currently works with WK Real Estate in Boulder, Colorado. So, Lisa, first of all, thanks for your willingness to share your advice to our viewers. And we'll start out with the first question here. What made you decide to be a real estate agent?
Sure. I've been married about 30 years, 31 this March, and we've moved all over the country. And when we started moving and looking for housing for our family, um, we decided that we wanted to buy. And in that process, we decided that we were going to end up building. And so my niche in before I actually became a realtor was to build houses and to work with people. And I have other friends that I've helped build their homes and work with the contractor and throughout the process. And then when our kids were in high school and pretty self-sufficient at that point, I decided it was time that I might be able to contribute to my family in just a little bit different way. Um, as I had been a stay-at-home mom until they were in high school, mid-high school years. So I decided that with my experience of building homes and all across the country, really, and helping others to build homes, that it was time that I should probably get serious about this and make this make this my career for the second half of my life, so to speak.
Mhm. So when you started, was your career path once you decided to be a real estate agent, was it a straight shot or, what helped you become successful in your career?
I think because I had experience in the building process and in several different phases, right? Because you can buy a home or build a home. You can go to a builder and say, they'll say pick A, B, or C, and you can build it that way, which is what I recommend for first time builders. The second is go to a piece of land that's owned by a builder and they say, look, I can build you a home, these are the options. And then the third one is the training wheels keep coming off a little bit more. You go and you find a piece of land, you find a builder or contractor, and then you design a home and you go from there. So there's different things. And I think the confidence that I had in going through all of those processes, and then when my friends started calling and saying, hey, you've done this, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Um, it kind of just dawned on me like, that's something I can do. I'm fairly personable and I thought, okay, I have a degree in sociology, and which surprisingly, or may not be surprisingly, for some of you, is that that degree helped me in working with other people and understanding kind of what their processes or thought process might be through the purchasing of a home.
Mhm.
And so I just decided to take a leap. And actually, I had a good friend who had just gotten her real estate license. And she said to me, she said, I'm getting my license and I want you to, and I want to be partners. And that truly is really the starting point of where I kind of thought, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I think I do want to do that. And so I did it.
Mhm. So it's interesting as you go through that process. Is it different to buy a house? Let's say you're buying it from a builder, right, that has something on the lot, basically almost ready to go, versus buying somebody else just Joe Blow off the street. Is that a different process, significantly different, or is it similar?
No, not really a different process. The contracts are different. When we're buying a pre-owned home, so to speak, it is the contracts are the state of, for me, Colorado. I'm in Colorado, so I use the state of Colorado contracts. I'm required to do that. But when I'm helping a buyer purchase a home from a builder, they are allowed to use their contracts. And I'm not legally allowed to um, I should say I'm not allowed to present the offer on the builder's contracts. So I'm there more as a support. Let's go through the contract. Hey, let's make sure this is in there. Things like that. So I'm kind of there as a different support. And then I'm also allowed when I do that to be a support or representative for the buyer with the builder. And I can come in and say, hey, when is this going to be done? You said this or this isn't happening. I want to make sure this is happening. That was per the contract. Can you please make sure and check on those things?
Mhm.
So that it takes on a little bit of a different role than buying a pre-owned home because your inspections are different depending on the age of the home, and you're looking for different things.
And your
So,
timeline, the pressure on the timeline is different, right? Trying to get
well, that depends
approvals.
on the builder.
Yeah, and the
It
build.
depends. Some builders here, we have a specific area where they build a home in about 45 days from ground zero to completed. And so it is just it varies from transaction to transaction to transaction.
Got to be flexible. So, what's the best career advice that someone's ever offered you?
I would say, and I don't know if anybody has offered this to me or not, but I would say that be prepared. As a realtor, it costs a lot of money to be a realtor. I pay fees of $25,000, $30,000 every single year for my licensing for the office that I work with and things of that nature, my assistant, things like that. Um, the one thing is if you're not able or willing to go out and go to different social events or activities or support people in what they're doing, maybe this isn't the right direction for you. This isn't something you can sit home and just kind of let fall in your lap. I mean, granted, sometimes things like that do happen, but generally, if you want to actually be successful, you need to go out and what I see it as a relationship based business for myself is I'm going out and supporting other people, before they're ready to buy a home, until they're ready to buy a home, and through the process of buying a home.
You mean you just can't go
So
and stick something on the internet and get 15 calls?
it doesn't work that way. No,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't work that way.
So tell us a little bit more about then. What do you do? What's your day-to-day, job look like?
Well, so it really, if you want something that isn't consistent, this is a great opportunity. We'll just take this weekend for instance, and I was telling Mike here that this weekend I have a listing, and the appraiser came back and gave us a very low appraisal, a value on the home. So this weekend I spent probably about 8 hours just going detail by detail by detail, looking up information and getting research and statistics and things like that on a home to try and get the value back up. One for my seller who doesn't want to lower the price house lower than they had received two contracts on. And so we had to figure out how to make this work. And so sometimes it's fighting through the appraisal process, and sometimes it's writing contracts. Oftentimes it's showing homes to new buyers that are in the market and ready to look. It really truly depends. I wake up every day thinking, okay, here we go. Let's see what's going to happen today. And sometimes I have clients that will call me and say, hey, there's a house that I'd be interested in seeing. Could you meet? Sure, we do that. Then we come home and we can work on contracts. Um, and depending where I am in the contract of a couple of purchases right now, one selling, one purchase, I'm constantly keeping up to date on that transaction and working on those daily.
Mhm. Okay. So, is there any other insight that you could provide about where you're at in your career now, right? How did you get the position where you're at today?
Well, I became a realtor by going to school. It takes 168 hours of school and online study and prep, and then you take a local and state exam. And oddly enough, or I should say the state and national exam, sorry, it's one not close enough. And that once you pass that, then you have to, they call it hang your license with a brokerage in your area. And that means that you have a mentor for at least the first 2 years that will basically help you if you have questions or need direction or want help on a contract or just anything. They are the person that is there for you until you kind of have the confidence and knowledge, really, to do it on your own. So expect that. You can't just get a license and just go off and start buying and selling real estate. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately, which is good. It is helped me a lot in learning and growing from watching somebody who's seasoned and a very successful realtor. Um, and then as you grow in it, you learn in the knowledge. And one thing that I think is really fascinating, so being in that I've been in here 12 years now, we've gone through COVID. Well, I started in 2013, and things were kind of coming back from a little bit of a slowdown around 2008, 2010. And so it was interesting what the market was doing. So you have to learn not just real estate, but you have to learn real estate and what's happening during each subsequent time frame in the market. So right now we have high interest rates. So you have to learn how to work with high interest rates to help your clients. And there's usually help in the market. During COVID, when everything was crazy, we had to put a home under contract before we could actually go see it in person. And so then we had things that were called appraisal gaps. So there's always different helps in the market, but you have to understand the market to understand what the helps are and how to use them and where and when. So I think that's something that I have learned is you go through, and I kind of, it reminds me of bell-bottom jeans. They were in there, and then they went out of style, and then they came back in, and then they went out, and then they came back in. Just like the market, there's going to be different things in different times where once you've been through enough of the market changes, you see them kind of repeat.
Yeah, and here comes the bell-bottom jeans again. They may be a little different, a little bit skinnier, wider, whatever, but they're coming back. So,
Exactly.
yeah, okay, great. And we talked a little bit about the education requirements, but what do you consider the most important rewards or challenges of being a real estate agent?
Rewards, it really truly is one of the coolest things to be able to help somebody find a home that they absolutely love. And it takes a process. It takes a while sometimes to find that home. And once they do, they're thrilled. I can't say I think I've had one client who said, "Oh, we don't know about this house. It's just too big for us." And then they had small children, and as their children are getting bigger, they're in the tween section now. I think the home is fitting them better. So it's just cool to be a part of it. And moreover, what I think is what I love the most is I get to know these clients of mine at a different level than most people would ever meet. I have a lot of clients from our ward and our stake, and um, it's really cool to go to different wards and have clients that are all kind of speckled around. And um, it's a very intimate process that you get to know people and their stresses and their wants and their wishes. And um, so that for me is just really it's pretty incredible to be one to let in to that inner circle, and two to help them find something that just brings they and their family a lot of joy. um the hard
So
things
you may
are
you may be the first person that goes into their house, right? Is what I'm hearing. It's not the
yes,
ministering person, it's you as you're doing the
yes.
inspection and showing the house, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
Back at Jeff, you were going to say the hard part or the challenging part?
The hard part and the challenging part is one, finding. Sometimes it takes a really long time. And depending how my client is feeling, if they're nervous about it, it might even take longer. So, I am using my sociology degree a little bit to help them just kind of be okay with the process. And it is stressful and it is scary. Um, but knowing that I've been through this so many times that I hopefully have the tools that I can help people get over the hurdles or work with people that will help them understand the process and have more confidence in what they're doing so they know that they're making a good decision. I think one of the coolest things that I've come across, and it's happened so many times now, it's definitely not a coincidence. And I wish I could throw out the person who spoke. It was a general conference speaker, and it was spring of 2019. I do know that. But he said something that I've used in my professional business many, many, many times. And it is that Heavenly Father will guide you, or protect you from making a disastrous decision in your life if you are honestly and earnestly trying to live the way he wants you to live. And how that plays out in real estate is it's pretty cool, actually. I've had some clients where they really wanted this house and they were super excited about it, but couldn't do it. They could not pull the trigger like fast enough. And so they lost the opportunity. Somebody else went in and bought the home. Or they couldn't get past some inspection items that frankly should have been dealt with and they just weren't. And so we got out of contract there. But what I will say, and this is the point, is that wherever you end up truly is the place that you're meant to be. And I say, I promise you 100% of the time it has happened where the home that you thought you had to have and loved so much and you lost it. But now the current house you're in, you can't imagine not having and loving more than any other house you even looked at it.
Okay.
So it's pretty fascinating to see that. And I don't, it's worded differently if they're not of our faith. Um, but it still works. The outcome is still the same.
Mhm.
And there's probably several houses that you could be in, but I do love the fact that he is in the details and he is at least in my business.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And you've talked about one of the characteristics is your sociology degree, right? That's really helped. Is there any other characteristics that are helpful to be a successful real estate agent?
I would say definitely you have to be a detail-oriented person. Um, there's hundreds and hundreds of details that you have to catch, and a lot of them are significant. And on a contract, there's a whole section, and it has, I don't know, we'll say 30. I'm not sure exactly the number off the top of my head, where you have to keep track of those dates and deadlines. And if you miss one of those deadlines, then you're out of contract. Like you are legally out of contract. And so if somebody, let's say the seller didn't want the buyer anymore, they had a better offer, and you fell out of contract because you didn't keep the dates and deadlines moving along and making sure you were hitting all of them, um, you're out of contract and your clients now lost their home. So if you can't keep details clear, sharp, on the front of your mind and always making sure those are done, it's going to be really, really hard. So I would say detail oriented. You have to enjoy what you're doing because sometimes it can get a little bit crazy. And you just have to know in the end it is fantastic. But sometimes, like any job, like anything you do, it can get a little dicey and a little tricky and
Mhm.
a lot stressful.
So,
Um,
so is,
so
is there a system that you use to track all that detail? I mean, are you using a project management system or how are you tracking? I mean, if you've got three or four, houses under contract, each one with, 30 dates or whatever, how are you, keeping track of all those dates?
right, right, right. I would love to be here and say I use a program and it keeps me on track. And I really just it's something that I can do. I lock it in my head and I just am constantly checking those dates every day to make sure that everything is on track and um that everything is where it should be. So, I'm sure some people do. I know at work we have different pages. My company is a boutique agency here in locally in Colorado in Boulder. And we've made different binders and you can go through and you can check off the things throughout the process. I haven't yet had to really use that. I've never lost a date yet. So um, I'm grateful for that. Maybe there'll be a time um, that will happen, but it hasn't happened yet. And I don't suspect it will. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I guess if you have a handful of houses under contract or whatever, you can start your day by going, okay, what do I got to get done today? Right.
right. Yes,
Or this
definitely.
week or whatever it takes. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So you've talked a little bit about some of the trends, but what are some of the trends that you're facing in the industry right now?
So, well, it's interesting because we all know the rates are higher than we would love, and right around 7% right now. And that actually historically is not a bad rate. I can guarantee you, Mike and I here have had rates over, in the young teens, um, which is a different story. That's double what we have right now. But having a 2% or 2.5% interest rate is fantastic. One of the mantras that we've had to have is, date the rate, but marry the home. So you're marrying the house that you're buying and you can refinance. That's a key part of it. But also nationally, statistically, people are selling. They think they'll be in their home forever and ever and ever. But statistically, they're in it for about 9 years. And of course, there's variance all over the place for that, but that's statistically what things look at. So um, right now, I would say rates are a little bit higher, and buyers, so you have a market, you have a neutral market, which is where there's enough homes and enough buyers that they can have their choice. It's called a balanced market. And that's kind of what we are right now. In our market, we're typically a seller's market, which means we have fewer homes and more buyers. And so the inventory is much lower than it would allow for all the buyers that want to live here to come in and buy a home. And so right now it's switching, so it's almost a little bit of a buyer's market, and which can be a little bit challenging for sellers. One, because we've been in the seller's market for at least a decade. And so that's really hard for the sellers to think, well, my house should sell in a week. Well, that's not what happens in a buyer's market. In a seller's market or COVID, you bet it's gone in about an hour. But that's not what we're in right now. So sellers can expect your home to be on the market a little bit longer. It's going to sit a little bit longer because we need more buyers to come in. And I would say, just on a little side tangent, a lot of people ask me, when is the best time of the year to sell your house? And people think it's April. And I think 10, 15 years ago, maybe was April, but I think it was about 2016, I think. I had two listings that had been sitting for a couple of months. They'd been there 4 or 5 months. One of them was 2.2 million. The other was, I think, in the sevens. And everything was going along. I hadn't heard anything. It was the holidays hit. And then January came, and all of a sudden I had multiple offers on both of my properties. And since that point, so it's been about 10 years now, I guess, that the market is April is just kind of a misnomer now. Right now, we'd say February, March, you're going to start seeing the April effect. But things are happening. In Boulder here, we had the largest month of the entire year for sales in December.
Hmm.
So it really truly kind of depends. And if you're in the market because you have to be, not that you would choose it at that time, the final quarter of the year is the best time to do that, because sellers and buyers are the most serious at that point. And they have to get it done. And so that's kind of the trend. Another trend, let's say go back to COVID, is when we had not a lot of inventory on the market for anywhere across the entire country. And houses were going so rapidly, they put in what's called an appraisal gap. And an appraisal gap means that when your home is appraised, they value it. And the lender can only lend on the value that the appraiser appraises the home. And so how do you offer more and still get the home knowing it won't appraise?
Mhm.
So you throw in the appraisal gap coverage. And that means that, let's say if you're buying a home for $100,000 and you really want this house and you say, I have extra cash, I can throw that at it. I'll offer $130,000, but it really truly only will appraise for $100,000. So where is that $30,000? Well, that's the gap in the coverage, from the lender to what you want to pay. And so you are paying cash out of pocket for that, which seems like you're just paying to play kind of thing. But you're not. What happens is, once you buy that home that was for sale for $100,000, you buy it for $130,000, that becomes the value of that home. Your property now is $130,000, and every other appraisal done on the neighborhood around you will be looking at your sale of their home. So it'll increase. That's how homes in neighborhoods increase. They kind of go up like that.
Yeah.
And so that's another trend.
Mhm.
So it just the market can really change, and you need to figure out how to keep up with it and what you can do to to be successful in finding and purchasing and closing on a home.
Okay. So if I was a young adult and I'm looking to say, hey, I want to start in the real estate business, right, as a real estate agent, what would be the best thing to do to jumpstart your career?
Uh, well, there's a couple of different avenues. I would say one, you probably won't make a lot of income the first 3 years. It kind of takes 3 years before you're making a lot of income. So you need to figure out, you need to find a brokerage that will sustain you and not make you pay into the fees, the 25, 30,000 that I've talked about, um, while you're still learning and growing your business. Um, so that can be really hard. My husband thankfully was here and was my safety net and helped me get off the ground because truly it's a lot of work and it's hard. But if you were out, supporting your friends and your family and people in the community and serving, it really is through a lot of service in the church and out of the church. It's you become a reliable source by proving to people before they even know you're in real estate that you will take care of them, whether buying or selling, and that you live a smart life. You make good, solid decisions in your life, and you've proven to make good, solid decisions in your life. I think you're the character of who you are, because what you're helping people do is buy or sell their largest asset in their life, for a lot of people. So you kind of need to get a lot of that service under your belt so people can see that you're a good bet when looking at who to spend their time with and who's going to help them out the most. Also, another thing, and I didn't do this, but I've seen this quite a few times, is well, that's not true. I did do this. I worked for a mortgage company 30 years ago, and I learned a lot about the mortgage industry, um, mortgage insurance, and things like that. So I had a lot of experience looking at contracts and kind of understanding what they meant. So I had a knowledge. We've had quite a few people, they call them TCs or transaction coordinators, our assistants. They know the files probably better than we do because they're doing, several different people's files at the same time and they're learning. But every transaction is so different and unique that you're learning constantly something that you didn't know. So if you decide you want to dip your toe in it, I would work at a real estate office and become somebody's assistant, or work at a title company and understand that process.
Mhm.
Any part of the process in the real estate transaction. So that's your brokerage, your lender, your transaction, or your title company. All will help you in learning and understanding how to make good decisions
Yeah.
and
And
how
so
to
it
show
seems like
people that
like
you
the
know what you're
lender
doing.
part would be a good place as well, right? Because if you understand the hurdles to get over those lend, you're going to close a lot more, houses if you're able to help them.
Yeah, and that's even just working at the front desk. You don't have to get in we'll call it a more responsible position where you're responsible for other people's assets or lives. But just being around it and learning kind of the lingo and understanding kind of the bigger major items really will help you in the long run.
Okay, great. And we found that young people, especially want in their career, some meaningful and positive impact in society, right? So is there any career advice you could give around that area?
Sure. A couple of things that I have chosen to do is every area has an association for realtors. And so I should back up. So you can be a real estate agent or you can be a realtor. They are different. It's a little bit, we'll go into the accounting world. It's a little bit like an accountant or a CPA. And they're different. One takes much more effort. It takes more time taking CE credits and classes, and that's being a realtor. Um, and let's see, I totally lost my track. What were you? What was I telling
So,
you about?
so the question is, positive and meaningful impact in society.
Okay, great. Okay. So, choose what works for you. But I chose to work with be a director on the board of directors for our local association, Boulder Area Association of Realtors at the time. And I learned so much. I learned a lot about the local and the state and national. So Colorado, we have CAR, which is the Colorado Association of Realtors, and NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors. And it's fascinating to see the different layers and levels that are at play that affect you. The National Association affects different laws and things that are being passed, and also at the state level. So I chose to work there, and there was about 10 of us, and it was really, really a neat process to learn and to be a part of supporting the thousands of agents or realtors that live in this area. And so I like that. I like being a part of that. I felt like I was learning more than I ever would just about the industry, not so much as my daily business, but as the industry. And so that was really, really cool. I mean, I think I took it to the next level. The other thing like some of you may have heard about the Marshall fires that happened in um, 2021 in December, and it's very similar to what's happening in LA right now. And they need realtors to understand the market of what's happening when all the homes disappear. And your clients need you to be there to help them when they can't find living space because it's all gone. And so being able to help people either rebuild when they've lost their home, that's a different level of emotional I guess business level. And then helping them sell a property because they've decided to move out of the state because they lost their home. Um, but moreover, I was part of, and this goes into a little bit of a side tangent, but because of my experience as a realtor, I helped start the long-term recovery group for the Marshall fires. And every disaster, if you don't know, has a long-term recovery group. And I also was part of it in 2013 when our area had ridiculous flooding. And that's how I've been able to give back in a way that, is a little bit unique to the other board members because I'm the expert in the real estate aspect um, of the long-term recovery group. In fact, I had somebody just asking me this week, can you send me what's happening with the market so we know statistically how the recovery is going?
Mhm.
And I've been a part of that board and a founding member for several years now. And it's fascinating to see and to be an intimate part of what's actually happening when so many people lose their homes or they're destroyed and all the things that go around with it. So for me, being able to help people because of my knowledge and my education and background, that I can insert myself into a process and really make a difference when people need it the most.
Yeah, yeah. Which it seems like right now in the L area, right, the need is tremendous, and we could probably spend the next half hour talking about that, but we're not
For
going to.
sure.
But it seems like that's
Yeah.
a total need, right? That really could be addressed.
Yeah. And
Somebody like,
it's going to come up.
yeah,
Yeah. It'll
yeah.
keep coming up.
Okay. So in closing, Lisa, is there any other career advice that you'd like to offer these young adults?
Boy, I would say, when you wake up in the morning, be grateful that you have another day and that you have another day to make a difference in somebody's life. And I would say prayer is a really big part of that. And when I have a listing or a buyer that where things are kind of feeling like they're frustrated, um, I make it a matter of prayer. And I would say, don't discount your professional life or the gospel in your professional life. If you're doing something where the gospel has no business in your business, then maybe you're doing something um, that doesn't give you the opportunity to have the personal growth in your life and the ability to help those around you to grow. Um, I just, it's important to make sure that you include him in your decisions and what you're trying to do. It helps keep you on track and make always make the best choices and best decisions that you can and seek guidance when things get tricky because they just do. And but I'm grateful for that. Sometimes it gets really stressful, and I'm grateful that I know who to turn to when it does. And I just truly believe there's a part of that um, that the gospel plays that if it didn't have it, it would be much more stressful career choice.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with that, right? I mean, it's not a matter of if things are going to get tricky, it's a matter of when
Right.
tricky, right? How
Exactly.
you react to that is going to define not only your career, but you as well as a person. So that's
Right.
great insight. So,
Exactly.
thanks again, Lisa, for your time
You
to
bet.
share some of your thoughts to these young adults. We appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and wrap up this video. We'd like to remind the viewers that they can either reach out to their own professionals to schedule an informational interview or conduct their own and reach out to someone that they know. To prepare for these informational interviews, we recommend that you watch the video on this website titled Conducting Informational Interviews. Thanks again, Lisa.
Thank you. Take care.